Welcome back to AA's birthday. Who's having fun yet? Happy birthday to Alcoholics Anonymous in Australia. 80 years ago, last month, we had our first meeting. If you haven't read One to Another, a book published by Alcoholics Anonymous Australia, go and get it because there's some unbelievable letters printed in there. My favourite letter is from Rex, who we'll find out more about this morning at the 10 o'clock history presentation, who was our first AA member. And he wrote to GSO New York. Up until this point, a psychiatrist known as Dr. Sylvester had been writing to New York trying to get help to start Alcoholics Anonymous in Australia. And at one point, in March of 1945, Rex writes GSO in New York and says, "You won't be hearing from Dr. Sylvester anymore." And it's like, oh my gosh, did something happen? Did he die? And he said, "I'm the first member of the first group of Alcoholics Anonymous in Australia." And AA was born in March 1945. That letter and subsequent letter about 3 days later from Sylvester, because he couldn't help himself, also confirmed that AA got started in Australia in March 1945. So we're here to celebrate our 80th anniversary. Did I just say that without any breath at all? I think I did. So welcome back to day two. We have a wonderful program planned, starting with this impromptu daily reflections meeting. We have Laura from Melbourne who will be chairing the meeting this morning. And don't be shocked, there are no pre-planned speakers for this meeting. So you might just get picked out of the audience. So I'll hand it over to Laura. Have a great meeting.
Thanks, Darren. Absolutely correct. I just showed up and he said, "Work it out." Yes. That's why we have God here today. And Carmen. She was very helpful. I don't even think that's the right one. Welcome to our impromptu meeting of the 2025 Australian National Convention. My name is Laura and I'm a recovered alcoholic, and my home group is the International Three Legacies group, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. This is a preamble of Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. I don't think I read that. So today we're going to do a daily reflections meeting, and I will be calling speakers from the floor. And I just read it, and it's absolutely beautiful, so I hope you enjoy it too. Our daily reflection is brothers in our defects. We recovered alcoholics are not so much brothers in virtue as we are brothers in our defects and in our common strivings to overcome them. As Bill sees it, page 167, the identification that one alcoholic has with another is mysterious, spiritual, almost incomprehensible. But it is there, I feel it. Today, I feel that I can help people and that they can help me. It is a new and exciting feeling for me to care for someone, to care for what they are feeling, hoping for, praying for, to know their sadness, joy, horror, sorrow, grief, to want to share those feelings so that someone can have relief. I never knew how to do this or how to try. I never even cared. The fellowship of AA and God are teaching me how to care about others. I'm going to start us off with three 5-minute speakers today. So if I ask you to share, please come do. There's so many people in this room who have actually embodied this for me. I'm so sorry, Helen, but you're the first one. Remember that time you saved my marriage? please come share with us.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Helen. I'm alcoholic. My home group is the 100,000 head mile checkup group at King's Cross that meets on a Monday at 6:30, and I am sponsored, and I have a sponsees, and all of that is necessary to keep me kind of in the middle enough to hear the things that I need to hear when I need to hear them. I really like the reflection. Thank you so much for reading that out, Laura. And what I was thinking about, it talked about our continuing to uncover ourselves, our defects of character. And what I've found about alcoholics, my alcoholism, which is the thing that I'm left with when I remove alcohol from the equation, me, myself, and I. And the Helen that I was introduced to when I first did the steps. So I got into Alcoholics Anonymous when I was 21, and I didn't do the steps for the first 2 years because I thought that was for the older people in the room who were married and who had kids and who had really upset them through their alcoholism. And I thought I was too young and hadn't really upset that very many people, and everyone was just doing what I did anyway. And I was wrong about that, clearly. And I had to get really uncomfortable in Alcoholics Anonymous, start craving sober, to realise I needed to do the steps, and I did them. But as time has gone on and my life has changed and evolved thanks to staying sober and the gifts of recovery, so too have the things that I've needed to look at. I'm a mum, I have children, so standing at the school gate and the school gate politics, that I don't want to be involved in. All of these things, these new things, workplace, navigating life, just navigating life. What I've found is through the fellowship, I've found people who I've gravitated towards because they've had the solution, and things evolve and things change. And my inventories and the things that I look at in my life have needed. So when I've got problems in, what is the expression I have? Problems in areas that I didn't used to have areas before. So it's always changing, and so kind of moving around in Alcoholics Anonymous and finding new people to learn from has also been a really important part of my journey. But it's so nice today to look backwards and hear some of the reflections of the legacy of Alcoholics Anonymous in Australia, which has been magnificent to have heard that. And in a minute, we're going to hear of the history of AA as well, which will be fabulous. So, I feel that we're in just for today and we're just present, but this little mind loves to ruminate on things. And, I just sat here this morning thinking about how there have been so many sliding doors moments in the history of Alcoholics Anonymous, in the history of our fellowship, from Bill's story, the turning points, the Mayflower Hotel. There have been so many sliding doors moments in our histories, in our collective histories, and in my life. And if I stay a member in good standing, if I'm sponsored, if I sponsor, if I stay in the middle of the fellowship, if I keep staying curious, and I keep looking for people who are experiencing, one alcoholic fellow helping another, experiencing what I'm experiencing right now in today's current sobriety, and keep seeking that out, then I will stay sober one day at a time. And I'm just very excited to be here. So I'm going to hand back to Laura, and thank you very much for asking me to share, Laura.
Thanks, Helen. Greg, I'm wondering if you would come share, because your sponsor at a separate time also saved my marriage.
Thank you. I don't know that I've saved any marriages yet, but I'll be on the lookout. Hello friends, my name's Greg, I'm an alcoholic. And my home group is Now There Is a Solution, and we meet 3 times a week, so anybody who's down on the South Coast, we'd love to have you there. And that reading this morning, Brothers in Defects, I was thinking when I was reading that this morning that before I came to AA, I was very special in my own head. I was very unique. No one was like me. No one could understand. And the identification that it talks about in there is an amazing thing. And I suppose the best way I can describe that is my first meeting and my first few weeks in AA. Wasn't the ideal start in AA for me. I came to my first meeting drunk because I was too scared to go sober and couldn't stop drinking. I'm told I was found hiding in the bushes out the front of the meeting by some older members, and I thought I was being sacrilegious going to an AA meeting drunk and everybody would hate me. And they just took me inside and they gave me a lukewarm, half-full cup of coffee. And I thought, how did they know? My hands were doing this. So that identification isn't just words. Their whole deportment shouted to me that they knew what I'd been through. And in that meeting, I got sat down next to a man who was wearing nothing but leather and lots of tattoos. Not the sort of man I'd normally sit next to. And he just spent the whole meeting drawing a little cartoon on a piece of paper, and I didn't know what he was doing. And at the end of the meeting, he handed that to me with his phone number and a cartoon just with the words "outgrow fear." And again, I thought, how did he know? I didn't say I was scared. And I left that meeting for the first time with a little bit of hope, because these people, not just in what they said, but in how they smiled, how they looked at me, the utter lack of judgment, said I wasn't special anymore. And they continued to follow that up. A couple of weeks later, I was in a hospital undergoing an assisted detox, and 2 members of AA came along. That wasn't my best week, if I'm perfectly honest. I was sitting in that hospital bed, lying to the nurses and doctors, telling them I'm fine, hallucinating things, walking around the room and all this sort of fun stuff. And these 2 members just rolled up and spent some time with me. I don't really remember what they said. I really don't. But I remember them being there, and I remember what it meant to me. And my experience in AA is that whatever I'm going through, whatever challenge I'm having, there's somebody in AA who's been through it. And they can help me with that identification, with that fellowship, and by watching their actions. So today, it is a funny thing that I say to a lot of people, that one of the best things in my life today is that I'm not special. And I say that to somebody who's not in AA and they think I'm putting myself down. I'm not. It's just it's an amazing gift to be brothers in defects, if you like, and to be able to come to an event like this. And I've heard it said, reminisce with strangers, with people that you just meet and you feel like you've known your whole life. So I did have a look before I came in. I love to look at every meeting before I come in to see if there's anybody in the bushes out the front that I can bring in. So thank you.
Your story reminded me of my first meeting, and I walked in and there was a biker with face tattoos sitting next to a little old lady knitting. And we did a convention last year, and there was an actual biker at the convention knitting. And I was like, this is the weirdest, most wonderful place on both occasions. Ziggy, do you want to come share?
Hi everyone, I'm Ziggy. I'm an alcoholic and a member of Friday Night Boots and all in Port Macquarie. Yeah, that's an amazing reading. Brothers and sisters in defects and brothers and sisters in recovery. When I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I didn't actually know that I had any defects. I just knew I was really, really unhappy. Perhaps the way I drank might have had something to do with it, or I drank the way I did because I was so unhappy. I didn't really know. But somehow I ended up in Alcoholics Anonymous through a perfect storm. I was in bed for the last few, not in bed for the last few years, but the last 3 years of my drinking, I'd go to bed with a bottle of Chardonnay, a packet of cigarettes, an ashtray with water in it so I didn't burn down the flat, and Louise Hayes, you could heal your life. And that was just the perfect storm for me to figure out that if I wanted the sort of life that was talked about in that book, and it was a very popular book 30-something years ago, that I might have to do something about my life. But I didn't actually know what that was. So my GP suggested Alcoholics Anonymous. I had had a look a couple of years before that. And so I came to AA, and from then I've learnt about myself. And as the previous speakers said, Helen, I also didn't do anything for the first couple of years because I thought I was too young, but I wasn't 21. But eventually I got to a painful place in recovery where I had to do the suggested things, and then I started to learn about myself. You know, and looking back on that, I actually don't know how I lived as a drinker. And I don't mean drunk, I mean just as an alcoholic woman. I bounced from situation to situation. I just ricocheted through life. I hated myself. I had grandiosity and low self-esteem, all that stuff. And that's, I think, the spiritual death is what brought me to Alcoholics Anonymous. But this is about recovery, this reading, and about helping others to recover. And once I started to learn about myself, I learnt that also the best way to keep this is to give it away and help other people. And by helping other people, I really help myself. I've sponsored quite a few people that haven't stayed sober, but what's happened by working with those people is that I've improved my own recovery, which is really phenomenal. Every time I go through that book, I can't talk someone into recovery, I can't make somebody get this, but every time I do it, I get it. And that's what I love so much. And I think Helen also said about continuing to grow. You know, some of the things I felt about 6 months ago are not the way I feel today because I've grown in recovery. Otherwise, I don't know, what am I doing otherwise? You know, I'm very hungry for this fellowship. I'm hungry for this experience. I'm still as excited about it as ever, probably more. I love the big book with a passion. When I first came in, I just thought it was just complete rubbish that was badly written. Now I absolutely love that book and I'm really passionate about it. I'm passionate about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I really, as Bede, if anyone knows Bede, used to say that one of the greatest things is to see other people get well in Alcoholics Anonymous. But I can't, unfortunately, make someone get well. I can assist them and share my experience, strengths and hope, but I can't talk someone into recovery. But what I can do is front up, be a member of a group, do some service, look after myself and pass it on. Thank you.
Michael from Melbourne, do you want to come share?
I'm Michael, I'm an alcoholic. Really grateful to be sober today. I shared yesterday and feel a bit uncomfortable being up here second time in the weekend. But thank you for asking me. Yeah, I love that, the fact that actually the thing that in the book it talks about the fact that the common problem wouldn't bind us together unless we had the solution. And that the fact that the idea of the shipwreck, that we all had this, I really love that section of the book, you know, where it just is about the fact that, you know, it's not enough that I have this same thing that everybody else has, and that it's, you know, if I had, that I'm dying Because if I just knew I was dying with you, that wouldn't be enough. And it's the fact that you're living and you've made a decision to live. That's what I find so attractive, is the fact that we've made a decision to live and that we're willing to go to any lengths to do that, because it's difficult. Because the day-to-day living stuff is, I don't have a skill set to do it. When I got here, I just had absolutely no skill set to do life. And I just had some survival skills that looked attractive to me, and at the end they just didn't work. They didn't work in any way that was, I was still alive, but I had no relationships with anybody else. And what's happened is that the dirty, disgusting, horrible things that I did when I drank, the joy of the program is that if I was to put them on a ledger, they were never going to be assets. They were always going to be a liability in my life if I look at the things that happened before I got here. And actually, the whole 12th step is the fact that stuff gets turned around and becomes an asset when I'm talking to the next person. And without that, I just die of shame and guilt. And I can't believe there's a program that allows that stuff to become valuable. I just find that just as the most amazing thing when I got here, that actually the things that I've done that I feel so poorly about myself and have killed me through my life have now been turned around and actually made an asset in the next person when I talk to the next person. And that see the identification, the same identification I got when I got here, when I'm sitting in the front row going, yep. And then, but one-on-one, when I share some stuff with somebody else, and I go, I'm not alone. And who knew? Because I don't do small talk. I go to work and I can't sit I can't do water cooler talk. I'm not interested. I don't talk sport. I don't have any of that interaction with other human beings on a level that is superficial. I just can't do it. I'll ask you what you do for a living, but I really don't care about the answer. But the next question is, do you enjoy it? And if you don't enjoy it, why are you doing it? And I'm happy to go to that level of conversation with anybody, whether I know you or not, but I don't really care about what you do. And so Alcoholics Anonymous allows me this through, because I feel a brother in defects, because I feel this commonality with you, that can have these deeper conversations that actually touch me, and I feel connected to you because I'm not talking at the surface. I'm listening to a much deeper level than I've ever been capable of doing. And I didn't come here for that. I came here because I had a drinking problem. And I'm really grateful that the solution has got nothing to do with my drinking. It's got to do with how you're living your life, how I'm living my life, and whether I'm enjoying it. And if I'm not enjoying it, why? So, thanks for letting me share.
The lady in the bright pink right here, will you come share? Yeah. Here it is.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Jane. I'm an alcoholic, and my home group is and my home group is the Rocks in Sydney, 7 a.m. Thank you so much for asking me to share. The benefit of wearing something bright is that it reminds me that I am happy, joyous, and free. But it also is that I stick out and get asked to share. I'm sorry, it's just a little bit late, like 2 minutes. So I missed the reading, but I got what the reading was about, and I've just really loved what I've heard this morning. And brothers in arms in sickness and in health, I guess, essentially. And I was like that too. I had no idea that I was full of defects when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I just knew that I was completely broken, and I was very, very self-centered, and I just couldn't think outside this tiny little orb that was my life, because it had become so consuming, this this focus on myself and this focus that I was trapped and alone and miserable and misunderstood. And I didn't realize that the actual issue was that I was a raging alcoholic. I just thought I was experiencing panic attacks and that I was frightened of certain things that had happened, and I'd had certain situations that had occurred and that had destabilized who I was. But the truth was, I'd always been destabilized. Even when I was 7, I felt really uncomfortable in my skin, and I thought it was because I was from a really big family and I was the smallest and I was one of the last born, and there was no room for me. And what I've found in Alcoholics Anonymous is that I am in the biggest lounge room of life, and it is so extraordinary. And it's so extraordinary because I'm not alone, and I hear how the disease manifests in all different types of people. And I hear how people's lives are completely destroyed and wrecked and broken. And then I hear them share how extraordinary their lives are, and not with, diamonds and pearls and, Maserati cars, but I hear how they can navigate any situation that happens, whether it's a loss or a job or a win or any situation, because we're taught how to do that through the steps, and we're offered a solution. And we're also shown that even through the worst and the most difficult of times, we can get through that. And I'm going to steal something someone said to me the other day in a meeting. They didn't say it to me, they said it to the 30 people in the meeting, but they said, hope is hold on, pain ends. And I think that really is, for me, the most powerful thing that has ever happened for me, becoming a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I love that thing of sharing with another alcoholic. I'm always reminded that, like was just shared, I've got so much to learn. I hope I never stop learning in Alcoholics Anonymous. I hope I never stop actively listening and actively seeing the beauty and the grace and just the miracles that abound in AA, and that I am truly living my life, which is beyond my wildest dreams. And I actually know who I am today. I like who I am today. I feel like I've got something to give back to AA, and it's a magical thing. And thank you very much for asking me to share.
Some people came in a little bit later, so I might just reread this beautiful reading. Brothers in our defects. We recovered alcoholics are not so much brothers in virtue as we are in brothers in our defects and in our common striving to overcome them. As Bill sees it, the identification that one alcoholic has with another is mysterious, spiritual, almost incomprehensible. But it is there. I feel it. Today I feel I can help people and that they can help me. It is a new and exciting feeling for me to care for someone, to care for what they're feeling, hoping for, praying for, to know their sadness, joy, horror, sorrow, grief, to want to share those feelings so that someone can have relief. I never knew how to do this or how to try. I never even cared. The fellowship of AA and God are teaching me how to care about others. Sanjay, will you come share?
Good morning, family. My name's Sanjay. I'm a grateful, recovered alcoholic. First thing to say is I want to thank the committee for putting this weekend on. I had a small part to deal with 2022 in Melbourne, and I know how hard it is to put on these conventions and how much effort and time it takes. So I really appreciate that, and it's a celebration. Happy birthday, AA, 80 years, and thank you for letting me recover. The reading's a good one, and it covers a lot of aspects of my experience, and I didn't come to Alcoholics Anonymous to find God or spirituality or anything else. I entered a facility in January 2005 in North London, an addiction therapy unit, psych ward, and I just wanted the problem to go away. And I was introduced to this via the meeting at the Art Block on a Friday night, and I think in the reading it says identification. I had identification in that first meeting, and it was a spiritual experience in the fact that I identified with people's drinking, thinking, and behavior, because for years and years and years I was special and unique. But the fact of the matter is, for 19 years I lived in active alcoholism and addiction, and that's a delusional state, which is what our book says. It means I can't see the truth from the false, and I'm inherently selfish and self-centered in my behavior, in all aspects. But you challenged me, you weren't part of my life. I push you away, leave me alone, I'm fine. The fact of the matter is, I have a dis-ease. Once I take it, I can't stop or stay stopped. And I have mental obsession that takes me back. And I believe in the third component, the spiritual maladjustment to life. I have a spiritual malady, but there's a spiritual solution. When we get to this point about defects of character, it's uncovered. Uncover, discover, and discard, right? In 4 and 5. And I realize who I really am, and I'm dominated by fear. I am self-propulsion, self-will run riot. And it got another person to shine the light on that stuff. And 6 and 7 is something I wrote, every time I travel, I write it down, the steps, and it'll continue, I'll do for a lifetime. They won't go away straight away, but I'm willing to grow, I'm willing to evolve, I'm willing to practice. And the fact of the matter is, the big part of this is getting awake, being awakened to this spirit inside that was always down there inside of me. My first drink was a spiritual experience. I went down the wrong track for 19 years. But God was always inside. And this is just a better way to grow up and become the person I always should have been, the son, the brother, the family member, the citizen of society again. And the most beautiful aspect of all of this, once the awakened spirit has happened, I go and help others and serve. That was not me. I could only serve myself for many, many years. The message was carried to me, it had depth and weight and everything else. And for those who know this film called Pulp Fiction, I'm going to mention this because I watched it last weekend. When I was a kid watching that, I associated with all the other stuff, right? But Jules says a fantastic line at the end of that film, because he has this spiritual moment when he's supposed to be shot and not shot, right? He says, I don't want to fall asleep. I identify with that statement. I don't want to fall asleep. This is my primary purpose today, to carry the message to the alcoholic who still suffers. I'm a member of the Deal Men's Group in Melbourne. I want to thank that group for saving my life and for enabling me to carry this message and to practice it in all my affairs as best as I can. I'll leave it there. God bless.
Gabrielle, can you come share? You shouldn't have made eye contact. As she's making the long walk, I'm sitting here just incredibly smiling and overjoyed, looking at some of the people that I've got to spend time with over the past 10 years. And the smile is coming from the fact that we don't bond on our virtue. And the laughs and the joy that we share together are never of how spiritually perfect we are. And if you're new, we're all just sitting here waiting to put you into this spiritual place of love and laughter through our defect. And here's one of my favorite snaps.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. Gabrielle, alcoholic. Gosh, it's so good to see people. And reading this morning, thinking about defects, and being here yesterday with Tony when he did 6 and 7, and that was just incredible. And having this idea lately this sense lately that I'm a leaky cauldron, right? Like there's been, I don't know about you, but the last couple of years there's been a lot of change. I've been sober for a while, everything got very kind of stable for a while, and that was really good, but God just decided everything was going to be different last year. And things started changing, and they kept changing, and they kept changing. And I've been kind of trying to hold the cauldron, if you will, back together, right? Back together. But what's kind of, coming to is this idea through identification with other people, is this idea that like maybe the vessel is too small and it needs to get bigger. When I was in early recovery, I was sitting at a bus stop once, and this woman who had 20 years sober walked by me and she said, "You've been praying." And I was like, "How did she know?" She said, "I can see it coming out of you." And to me, she looked like a cathedral of a woman, right? A cathedral, like she had built a cathedral inside herself in time through prayer and meditation and step work and service. And as I was sitting down there earlier, I was like, oh, right, the vessel is too small. God needs more space. God needs more space, but it means I need to be blown apart. And how do I get blown apart? It means that I need to not be reliant on myself anymore. And how do I not be reliant on myself anymore? I need to be completely convinced that life run on my self-will isn't going to work. So I'm brought to my knees again and again and again through defects in Alcoholics Anonymous, in my sobriety, and I have to turn to God. And Laura is one of the people that I call. And I can see others that I call. And I'm so grateful for the amount of help that is on offer here. We hold the space for each other. It's just such a beautiful ride. Such a beautiful ride. And who knows? Like, I'm so excited now. I'm so excited now to see what's going to happen next. Because the one thing I can be completely convinced of is that God's picture is so much damn better than I can imagine. But I just got to let go of mine. And that takes prayer. Thanks.
My buddy Darren from Perth, do you want to come share?
Darren, alcoholic. Thanks to the committee for putting this on. I love waking up in the morning when there's a convention on and it's just that skip in your feet, I got a little buzz. I've moved to Sydney about 3 months ago, and there's a few of my old mates that from Perth, still mates, that are arriving here today and stuff, and it just gave me that joy. And I was actually thinking about myself again this morning. But I was thinking about this topic actually. That deep, I didn't read the reading this morning, but that we are all failures. I remember I don't know how sober I was, and my sponsor was like, or it was a reading, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was like, yeah, you are a failure. You ended up in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know what I mean? The only place an alcoholic does not want to be. And I tried everything to not get here. I knew about the big book when I was 2 years of age. My dad's been in and out of this fellowship for 40 years. He's 20 odd years sober. And, I've come in here and it was either I've never left, thank God, but it's over the years where I've realised what my defects of character are and all that blame and all I had on my parents and friends. And I still do it today. With people even in Alcoholics Anonymous, that judgment of the mind, people just don't do things the way I want them to do them. And what somebody taught me last year was my ego separates me from the people I actually love. And that's the worst thing I think about this disease. The people that I love, like my mum, my dad, my sister, people in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the ego doesn't want me to be with them. It's a horrible, nasty disease. But with this solution, prayer and meditation every day, step 10 throughout the day, I can try and stay awake. And I went through a situation in the last year, and it brought me back to that suicidal ideation, but my mind went to cheerfully capitalise on this situation. I don't know if I was cheerful about it, but I did capitalise on it, and it's made me a better person in areas. And within a week or so, and it always happens, I'm sitting with somebody in a coffee shop, another member, and they're going through the exact same thing. And I'm able to share my experience, give them a bit of relief. It's going to be okay. You will get through. Speak to your sponsor. The steps are there, and you'll get back connected with God. And You know, it is my greatest asset today, not just my past from my drinking, but what I'm going through in recovery. So thanks for sticking on to the convention.
Kezia, look alive. You want to share?
Hi, I'm Kezia and I'm alcoholic. I've never spoken into one of these before, so I'm a little nervous. When I came into AA, I thought I'd never heard the word defects apart from when walking through like a new build. So I had no clue. I was in for quite a journey. I really liked when someone else came up here and said brothers and sisters, because then the reading was more relatable to me. And, you know, I've got a sister in sobriety. We share a sponsor and we're on the phone almost every day. And, you know, it's smiling just thinking about her. She's fantastic, and she'll come to me with her stuff, and she's 6 years sober, and it's defect stuff, and it bonds us, you know, because I can relate to that. And I can call her up crying, and, you know, she'll just be like, this, and it works out. I love that we bond in our defects. My sponsor also, she has a very similar family life to me in the way of children. She has 2 7-year-olds and I have 3 little ones. And my defects come out in parenting. I just like, the pause is, it's like it goes. And when I do the pause, I congratulate myself. I'm like, wow, I just did that. I paused, you know, with 3 kids at bedtime. But, you know, I can get on the phone to my sponsor and I can just tell her, like, I am in absolute fear over parenting. I am in fear that they're going to turn out like me, or I'm going to be my dad. And she can just walk me through all this, you know. And that's been one of the greatest gifts of coming into this program. And I didn't want to come in here. As someone else said, I tried absolutely everything else. Medication, psychiatrists, psychologists, help groups. But this journey has just been amazing, and I do have a life that is just incredible now. So thank you.
This was a really powerful reading. Would anyone like to share? Please come.
Morning everyone, I'm Ross, I'm an alcoholic. I'm sober today. I'm sitting down the front, I can only see a few people, and now I'm scared that I got up to share, but I'm here now. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous on the 21st of January 1996. It was 2 days after my son's 5th birthday, and I had yet again another blackout bender. And I managed to come to Alcoholics Anonymous, that's a short story, on that Sunday at Parramatta at a church, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I wouldn't have described it this way when I went there, but in reflection, I was traumatised from my life as an alcoholic. I hated myself. I hated my family. I was full of resentments. I hated my work. You know, I won't say I hated my wife, but I had problems with my wife. And I was a very distressed person as an alcoholic in my first meeting. And a person came up and shook my hand when I got in the door and said, welcome. And that person, I know is still sober today. He was also a heroin addict. He's fully recovered and sober from that. And we don't see each other a lot these days, but he always rings me at Christmas time, or I ring him, and just to check in with each other. We're still sober. Our lives have gone on different pathways. So when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I had no idea that I could live a better way of life. And I related to what people were sharing, and I learned that other people, by their own description, were alcoholics, but they were describing themselves as living a sober life. And that was the start of my journey. And I've been coming back ever since. I've been fortunate for that. And I've been gifted with this program into my life. And I was taught or educated, for want of a better word, that if I treat this as a gift, it's been gifted to me. My sobriety is not on my own merit. It's a gift to me. And I never understood that, and still have trouble accepting that, in the sense of, well, I do all the work and stuff, and then I realise I'm distancing myself from power greater than myself. And I'll just close on this. A fundamental message for me, and I'm looking forward to the We Agnostics meeting. I came in as an agnostic person, and I really didn't like the idea of God. And I spent a fair amount of time in AA at the start, just being grateful, telling people I was grateful that I was coming to meetings. Thanks for the meeting. Thanks everybody for having me, all this sorts of stuff. But I wasn't interested in God. I wasn't interested in the spiritual side. And nothing was changing. I was waking up without hangovers, and I was eating a bit better. But somehow, some way, through other members, I managed to embrace step 2. I was saying to a person early on in recovery, I remember saying, "Oh, you might be insane, I'm not. You might have a mental illness, I'm not. I just want to stop drinking." And my sponsor at the time said to me, "Well, of all the times when you're drinking and all your bender behaviour, would you describe that as being sane?" It stopped me in my tracks, and I accepted that I suffered from insanity as an alcoholic person. And that was my journey. I opened up on that, and then I could get to step 3, and the rest of it, I'm still here today. It's wonderful being sober. I live an incredible life. People said to me, if you stop drinking, your life will only get better. If you keep drinking, your life's only going to get worse. I think that's true in my life. I'm certain it's true in so many other people's lives, because that's what we all share about. So I'm very grateful to be here. Thanks so much for the organisers for the 80th. It's wonderful being here. Thanks for listening to me.
Would anyone else love to share on this? Yeah.
What a good-looking bunch of people. I know I'm in the right place. My name's Cherie. I'm an alcoholic. My home group is Claymore, Saturday. When I came to AA, I knew I didn't have any imperfections. In fact, my home group in the group chat called me the CEO, and so I knew they were conscious of my leadership qualities. I went through the steps with a really good sponsor who understood if she challenged me in the wrong way, I'd be gone. And she let me lead the way to discover my defects, which was good. She just put a thought in the back of my mind. She never said, "You're egotistical." She'd say, "Do you think this might be your ego?" I'd be resentful, go home, and then think about it. And she also taught me that this ego that I had, I didn't have to be ashamed of, because a lot of it was based in fear, feelings of being less than. And I looked at that word defect, and I looked it up in the dictionary, and I just looked it up again just to remind myself, and it's an imperfection. Well, I didn't have any of those, and it's a shortcoming, And I'm short, but I didn't have any shortcomings. And then I realised that it wasn't my, I'd get up and share about financial success, career success, life success, but I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. Life was like the Truman Show, but not as happy as him. It was a bit like when he finds out he's in a show, it was like Groundhog Day. And I didn't know how to get out of it, and I didn't have a faith, I didn't have a God. because I didn't have any trust in anyone else. And it even took me a long time to trust my sponsor, because I had this belief that if she knew my defects, she wouldn't like me. But by telling me her defects and sharing about her defects, I was able to open up to her. And that is the greatest part of my life today, is that I've learned to have a higher power, because I've understood now that I had no happiness when I was in charge, so it'd be kind of stupid to remain in charge when I've been shown that if I hand over my fears, 99% of the time, when I do it correctly and follow the program, they're relieved from me. So I'd be a bit of an idiot to hang on to them, you know. And by sponsorship and sponsoring other ladies, I have the great joy of seeing these imperfections that I have, going over their imperfections and loving them because of their imperfections, not in spite of, or, you know, not having to put them down and say, you know, my defects of character got me where I thought I wanted to go. I just didn't know where I wanted to go. And today I know what I want to do. I want to be loving, and I want to be kind, and I want to be caring, and I want to help others. But I'm not qualified to help other people except in this program, because in this program I have lived the nightmare of being imprisoned by alcohol. And that is something that I can let my true heart, which I'm not an honest person, but with sponsees I can let my true character defects out to show them that it's okay to have an imperfection. In fact, it can be a good thing. It's how you use it. And today I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. All of the promises have come true for me. Some days I don't feel like they have, but 99% of the time I realise that, you know, I have to pinch myself to remind myself that I deserve this life. And thank you for everyone for putting on the conference and all the hard work. And I just want to say God bless you all.
Thank you.
To take us out, the gentleman with the white shirt, glasses, and you have my accent. I think it's Steve. You're right.
Hi, my name's Steve. I'm an alcoholic. Laura and I met in the elevator at the Hilton Hotel. She didn't know I'd been married 4 times, so she could have got wedding advice from me, marriage advice from me. When I first read the daily reflections, this is how alcoholic I am. I guess I should say my home group is Sangay Spiritual Concepts outside of Brisbane. And we meet on Saturday night, 5 o'clock. You're all welcome. We have a great meeting. And my sobriety date is April 7th, 1984. And this is my second go-around. So when I read the reading, my first reaction was, yeah, I can tell you about my brother's defects. I've been taking them for years and years and years, you know. I relapsed after 9 years. Thank God it was only for 6 months. Higher power brought me back. And today I can say in all honesty, I'm only sober today by the grace of a loving and caring higher power, our wonderful 12 steps in the fellowship. One of the gifts of service that my higher power has given me is to listen to men's 5th steps. I don't know how it happened, how it started, but I should say I got sober in New York City and spent 18 years in Las Vegas, and a lot of those 5th steps that I heard were in both those cities. And which brings me to the issue of character defects. I believe the reason my higher power gave me this service to hear other men's fifth steps, because I am loaded with character defects. So I could just nod and identify and say, oh yeah, I did that, you know? Or if they would ask some advice about, or my experience about a particular character defect, I didn't have to exaggerate or lie. I could just relate what happened. And I could see that, I've heard it described as the gift we've been given is a thin veneer over our character defects. They don't necessarily go away. You know, if you want to have a really upsetting day, just tell somebody, yeah, you know that character defect of anger, I got rid of that. You'll be in a fist fight by the end of the day. I mean, it's incredible how that works. So I've had the opportunity to share my experience, strength, and hope with these men. And some continued on. A number of them had double-digit sobriety and came to me and said, you know, I really think I need to work on 4 and 5, the inventory process. And I was able to help. And I know those of you that have had this experience, a similar experience, is that what's so great about it is I get to see my own character defects and see where they are. Are they right on the surface? Has the higher power removed them? And I want to share one other gift with you, talking about commonality and defects. I have family that's in recovery. Every Monday morning, Australian time, 10 a.m., I have a Zoom meeting with my family. They all live in the US. I have a sister-in-law, a sister, a daughter, and a grandson, all in recovery, from 36 years down to my grandson's got 9 months now. And we get to share, and we do the daily reflections. That's the basis of our meeting. And we get to share, we know each other's defects. I mean, my daughter could talk for hours about my defects. Anyway, we get to share not only our defects, but we get to share our recovery. And it's just a gift that beyond my wild imagination. Thanks.
Our interaction in the elevator, to paint the scene, was none of our stuff on, and our entire interaction was, good morning. 5 minutes later, we meet us in here, and he goes, I knew you were one. And I said, I knew you were too, okay? We think we're so sneaky. Thank you, that was an absolutely beautiful meeting. All of our AA literature and other material is available for purchase in the Sydney Town Hall here. There are volunteers like this wearing shirts if you need any help. Oh, Darren, am I taking your job? We still have a few dinner dance tickets available on Saturday night to purchase these at the registration desk. And the new Australian AA Anniversary Red Big Books are also available out there. Do I get to pray or no?
In a minute.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for coming. I will invite Laura and Megan back to take us out with the Serenity Prayer in a second. In here, in 31 minutes, is the AA History presentation play production. It is actually a production. They will be in dress up. It will be hilarious. They will portray the start of Alcoholics Anonymous in Australia in all the states around. So hopefully there's drunks falling over and stuff. I don't know, we'll find out. So please come back for that. And Steve, where are you? There you are. Thank you for sharing, and everyone else for sharing. I was chatting with Steve and John before the meeting about 50, 60, 70 years ago in Alcoholics Anonymous in Australia. And I'd like to say, if you were here yesterday, you know that I'm doing a little bit of dress up this weekend. Here is another one. I'd like to say that if you look around left and right quickly, just take a second to look around left and right behind you. Steve and John and I were talking about the history of AA this morning. The next meeting will be on the history of AA. These represent the future. You just had a look at the future of Alcoholics Anonymous. From where I sit, we're in really good hands for the future of Alcoholics Anonymous, for all those alcoholics who are yet to arrive. Thank you for coming this weekend, and I'll ask Laura and Megan to take us out with the Serenity Prayer.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.